Hi again folks, how's all doing? This is a very quick layout update. I'm about to start replacing these 2 points, which I've been meaning to do for months, but today's the day, finally. But that's not the subject of this video because it will be the same process that I showed when I worked on this point here, which I covered in a video not too long ago. This video is about something a bit more important. I've finally decided on a name for the layout. Now, I'll be honest, I haven't really given it an awful lot of thought because it didn't really matter all that much to me. But I kept thinking, you know, the stations need a sign, a station sign, and that means I have to name this little place that I've made in the layout. But I really couldn't think of anything. You know, I didn't want something overly silly and or overly serious. I didn't want to use a real name from the real world. I wanted to make something up. And I wanted it to be Scottish sounding in some way and have some sort of meaning and, you know, have some sort of something that connected to the layout in some way. But I couldn't think of anything. So it kind of left, you know, I just left it. It just never got named. I was thinking about it the other day and a few names popped into my head and I thought, yeah, I can't call it that, but there was one name popped into my head that I thought, yeah, that'll do, that'll work. I can't keep thinking about this forever. I need to decide the name and just be done with it. So the name of the layout and the little village that I've built here is, wait for it, Ochterdruthi. Now, some of you are probably thinking, what on earth is that? Could I not have come up with something a bit more pronounceable and a bit shorter? But that's part of the fun. I like that it's a Scottish sounding name and it has to be pronounced Ochterdruthi. It's not Ochterdrouthi, it's Ochterdruthi. Basically, it means, the Ochterdruthi means the thirsty uplands. A druthi is thirsty. Or you might say, you know, in Scots, we might say we've got a druth, we're thirsty. And Ochter is kind of loosely means the uplands. So it's the thirsty uplands, which I thought I quite liked the drink really to, you know, reference, because when you've got a druth on you, it usually means you're hungover, you're needing water. And, you know, so that kind of ties into the gnome's legs as well, which I quite liked. And I then decided that the gnome's legs, it's the gnome's legs, don't worry, I'm not going to change the name. But years and years ago, just some of its backstory, years and years ago, it used to be called the Druthi Inn. And the village of Ochterdruthi is built beside the Druthi River, which is the river underneath the viaduct. Now, I also needed a name for my little terminal station on my end-to-end little branch line. And I wanted it to be something end. And I thought of a few names, most of which I couldn't use. Hobbs End would have been good, but that's been used. If you've seen the film Quatermass in the Pit, that's the name of the street in that film. So I couldn't use that. And then I thought of Bogle's End. Now, a bogle is a Scottish word for a ghost or a goblin. So I thought, well, that kind of works. That's a good alternative to Hobbs End. So the little station is Bogle's End. So there we are. Welcome to Ochterdruthi. But yeah, I've got a lot of work to do to the layout. As I say, I'm about to start doing those points and some of the houses. I've got another house to build and I want to get trees and the gardens built and road markings. Signals is something I want to think about soon as well. I've not quite decided on LEDs or, you know, the old style signals. I'm not sure. And also I'm not sure where they should all go. So if anybody can sort of pinpoint in the layout what signals should go where, that would be a great help. But yeah, I mean, LEDs are easy to wire up and, you know, might be easier to do. And of course look modern. You know, a layout isn't really set in the past. It's kind of, I've always thought of the layout as a sort of heritage railway. So it could have either, it could have LEDs or it could have, you know, old style, is it semaphores? Can't remember the name of them. It could have those, but yeah, I need to think about that. But any help on where I should put the signals on the layout would be a great help, thanks. Something I've been thinking about recently is this goods shed. It doesn't really get used. Partly that's been because of these points that don't work, but also, you know, it's not really long enough. The sidings just aren't long enough to do any sort of realistic goods work. So I've been toying with the idea of removing the goods shed and putting another engine shed in there. You know, I could store locomotives in this area and have a second engine shed, or an engine shed for the Bogles End station. Yeah, let me know what you think. I put quite a bit of work into building that goods shed, but part of me thinks it's too big. It does seem to be very high, but I suppose they were. But yeah, I can't help but think that another engine shed would maybe be more useful and maybe more appropriate. Another thing that would be possible here would be a turntable. Get rid of the goods shed and have a turntable, but I think it would look a bit silly, and it would just be a case of locomotives coming in and turning around and coming out again, which, yeah, it would be more useful than this goods shed for sure, but yeah, without it, you know, branching off into other storage lines, other sidings, I think it would look a bit silly. So yeah, I like the idea of an engine shed, or maybe a double engine shed. But yes, I may be getting to that stage where I start thinking of, well, that's the layout sort of done, apart from this area up here, but what could I change? Can't leave it alone. So that's your lot from Dr. Druthie. Have a good Christmas, folks. I will be making my usual thank you video between Christmas and New Year, so I'll see you then. Catch us later, folks.